Hey, what's up everyone? It's Todd the Gator here, and I've built my channel in the past to help newer Guardians with all the little things in the game Destiny 2, but today's video series will be a bit different. I've talked to many in my community about all things Destiny 2 via my podcast, Guardian Downcast, and the Destiny Help Desk. And whenever I mention the C word, I inevitably get that eye roll and glazed look. And no, I'm not talking about that C word, I'm talking about the Crucible. I get that, yeah, I'm really not into the Crucible in PvP comment so many times. And it's a shame because whenever I'm done playing all the new Destiny 2 content, the ultimate endgame for me is the Crucible. Why? Because the Crucible offers something that a raid, Grandmaster Nightfall Strike, or anything else in the PvE world can never offer. Every game is totally different. Crucible is never predictable. You can't memorize the spawn points of the enemy, and the targets don't stand still for you to shoot at them. Playing against another Guardian, to me, is the ultimate game of chess. Don't get me wrong, I love sitting back and chilling and shooting aliens, and in-game PvE content can be very challenging, but eventually you get it down, and its replayability goes down as well. Enter the Crucible. When I first started to play Crucible, my kill-death ratio, which is KD, was a measly 0.5. which basically meant that I died twice as much in PvP than I successfully killed another Guardian. Many games I would stare at myself at the very bottom of the final scoreboard and felt I really wasn't helping my team win. I really hated this feeling. I would get frustrated and tilted very easily and would eventually quit. But as I watched other players on Twitch and YouTube, I realized that we all start from there. And I took it upon myself for once in my life to face down the challenge and slowly improve in the Crucible. As an older gamer, it was a challenge for me to compete with players half my age and win. It's a really great feeling seeing yourself at the top of the scoreboard at the end of a match. And you would think that 2.0 KDA was really impressive, but for me, it was a sign that I was getting better and making progress. It was kind of my very own personal scoreboard. But I'll share a secret with you. It was the journey getting there that was the most fun. There were lots of experience and memories of clutch moments that won the game that I'll never forget. But there were also just as many lessons to learn when I didn't do well in a game. Hey, we're all human, and trial and error is the way we learn in life. We aren't born with a controller in our hand. We had to practice and learn to use things in our life, and PvP and the Crucible is no different. So my goal in this video series is to persuade you, the older gamer, to jump in and start this journey yourself. And I'll be honest, there'll be nights we'll never want to play PvP again. But with persistence and setting some simple goals, you can come out on top. And let me tell you, when you reach a certain level in the Crucible, every game is just like setting up that chessboard, or checkers for some of you, and learn something new about yourself. Hey, I'm a 56-year-old fart, and if I can do it, you can surely do it too. Now don't get me wrong here, I'm no killer in the Crucible, and there are many players that will cut me down faster than ever. But my promise to you is if you watch these videos, is that I will help you become a valuable team player, and you will see improvement in yourself, and to me, that's the ultimate of gaming. So, in this video series, I'm doing something totally different. I will be talking to you while playing the game. And there will be no scripts, little to no editing, just you and me talking, and my goal in each video will be to teach you what I've learned from all those years, 9 years of playing in the Crucible. All that trial and error. Go all the way back to year 2 of the original Destiny game. You'll learn all the lessons that I did without all the pain that I went through. Every video that I put out will show you one thing that you can do to get that kill or that W for your team. By learning to do one thing better in the game, you can slowly become a Guardian to be reckoned with. Also, feel free to watch these videos in any order you like, but you've already started in the right place right here, because before you can even step into the Crucible, you first need to give yourself the best chance to win that 1v1 gun battle. So I'm going to send you over to Live Gator, and he will show you what you need to get started off right. All right, over to you, Gator. Hey, thanks, Gator. Well, we got a lot to cover here. This is what you need to know before even jumping into your first Crucible match. This is really important because of people who've been playing in the Crucible for years and years already know what I'm going to tell you today. And if you don't have this set up correctly, you're already going to be at a disadvantage going into the Crucible. Now, a lot of you I know that are watching this video play a lot of strikes, play a lot of raids, play a lot of patrols, play a lot of stuff in PvE, and you really don't like the Crucible. You've not had good experiences in the Crucible. But let me tell you, man, once you have this set up, once you have this knowledge in your mind, you're going to be able to give yourself the best advantage going into your first Crucible match. So I've flown to Altar of Flame here. Just want to show you a few things real quick. The first things you need to know are these first three values: your mobility, your resilience, and your recovery. Now, you guys have played, most of you guys have played this game. You know what all these values mean. But the one that I want to share first is your mobility. Now, this means nothing when you're playing in a strike or a raid. Very little. You may be able to jump a little bit higher on those jumping puzzles, but other than that, mobility really doesn't help you in PvE, but in Crucible, it's very important. I'm going to just demonstrate this real quick, okay? I'm at 100 mobility, which means my strafe speed back and forth is as fast as possible. When I aim down the weapon, how fast I can juke out of the way, this is what mobility determines, is how quickly I can, one, move this gun while I'm aiming down the sight, and how quickly I can juke back and forth. Someone's shooting at me right here, I can easily confuse them where they might miss their shots. And I hate to tell you, but this is how you win your 1v1 gunfights, is strafing, using cover and strafing. I'll get into that part later in another video, but I want to show you the difference when you don't use high mobility. Now we're at tier 3 mobility. Watch the difference. Like I'm stuck in the mud here. This is the fastest I can strafe. See how much slower it is? I can't jump as high. I feel like I'm literally using my controller now. My controller is stuck in the mud here. So when I'm shooting here at somebody, trying to stay clear of them, I have a lot less ways of getting free from them. Let me go back and show you that again. See the difference? Look how much faster I can move here. Big difference. Also, when you're moving your weapon, strafing while aiming down sights, this is big in the Crucible. And not a lot of people know about this, but it is very important. I've seen many really, really good, talented warlocks in Trials of Osiris that really understand how this works. This strafing speed right here is what will keep you alive and make your enemies miss. So I just wanted to make sure everyone knew that. That's kind of something that only a lot of us more experienced PvP players know. All right, the second thing is your resilience. Let me get my regular build on here real quick. This is what I'll be bringing into the Crucible. I'm using a 777 tier for these three. Now you may say, well, Gator, why aren't you using 100%? Why aren't you using a tier 10 on your resilience? Resilience in the Crucible does a lot for you. It gives you more hit points, which means you're harder to kill. If you can get this to 100 without sacrificing your mobility, then do it. Go up to 100 if you can. But 7 seems to be, right now in this sandbox, seems to be the sweet spot where you're not gaining much more advantage above tier 7, but you will definitely suffer below tier 7. So the reason I'm at tier 7 here is because I can give tier 7 to my recovery and my mobility and still have a very balanced character here. Now, also with resilience, is this reduces your flinch. And another thing that reduces flinch is how much stability you have in your weapon. This stability is maxed out, which means this thing is a dart. My Revision 0 is my favorite weapon. One of my favorite pulse rifles in the Crucible. But look, I'm maxed out on stability, which not only means my recoil direction is vastly improved, but my flinch is vastly improved, and also my side-to-side sway on my gun has improved as well. But that ties with your resilience. The higher your resilience, the less flinch you get. That's something Bungie just changed in the Crucible. And let me tell you, these values right here fluctuate from season to season because Bungie is always changing up the sandbox. I'm using tier 7 recovery here because I want to get my Phoenix dive back a lot, and you'll see why here in a second. Second thing I want to show you is the mods that you would use on your armor pieces in the Crucible. Now, a lot of you will have like siphon mods on your helmet to create orbs because you kill a lot of enemies in PvE. Well, it's a lot different in PvP. In PvP in the Crucible, you want those targeting mods. You want those targeting mods. These right here. Make sure you match it with the enemy type. Make sure you match it with the energy type of your weapon. I'm using a kinetic sidearm and my Red Death, which is solar. This helps your targeting a lot. What it does, it adds little aim assist value. It's not shown here, but it adds it in game. Your aim assist, your stickiness of your reticle when you're trying to shoot someone, it adds to that value. So you want to always have targeting mods on your helmet. Now, I'm trying to get tier 7 mobility, so all of my armor has mobility on it. That's what I've got set up here to make sure I get tier 7 where I can strafe fast back and forth. Moving on your gauntlets, you typically want one of two different mods. You want either handling mods like dexterity here, or you want reloader mods. If you have a gun that's really slow reloading and you don't want to have to get behind cover every time forever to reload your weapon, then reloader mods and dexterity mods. Dexterity mods is how quickly you can swap to the weapon, how quickly it readies, where you can aim down the sight. Works very well. I have a sidearm that needs a little help in this. So I've got a kinetic dexterity mod and a kinetic loader. My Red Death, when I kill someone, reloads very quickly. So I don't need any reloader mods. And if I want, I can put a dexterity mod if I like for my Red Death as well. But I choose because you have to be a lot quicker when a shotgunner is running at you or someone's running at you trying to punch you in the face. You want to be able to react quickly. And that brings up another point. Whenever you pick weapons for the Crucible, make sure you have a far away type long range weapon and also something close. If someone's running at you, you have the versatility to swap to either weapon, whatever you need here. And use what's comfortable to you. If it's a scout rifle, use it. If it's a shotgun, use it. If it's a hand cannon, God forbid, use it. All right, on your chest piece, the mods I'm looking for in the Crucible are not solar resistance mods and stuff you would use in PvE. I'm using anti-flinch mods. This goes back to your resilience factor on your armor, but you can stack the benefits to even more for you here. I'm using a kinetic sidearm and my Red Death, so I have unflinching kinetic, unflinching solar. On your leg armor, because these are not very high tiered as far as my ability cooldowns for my grenades, my super, and my powered melees, I have these mods that you want to use on your leg armor. And these mods all depend on picking up an orb of power. So this one gives class ability, this one gives me health, and this one gives me all abilities. So you can pick and choose what you want here. You can even double stack the absolution mods if you have the room for it. On your bonds or your class armor, you want to use something that's going to flat out give you a buff to how quickly you get some of your abilities and grenades back. I happen to be using a powerful attraction mod here where someone creates orbs of power and I throw down my rift or my Phoenix dive. I'll immediately, anything that's in my area, those orbs will absorb right into me and add to my leg armor that I have above here. But just to give you an example here, Bomber gives you a flat out decrease in time in your grenade cooldown when you use your class ability. Distribution, when you use your class ability, will reduce all the cooldowns. There's different things you can use here, one for melees and such. You can play around with it depending on your play style. So, the next thing you want to look at when going into Crucible, and this will be different for everyone, but I have not put down my prismatic subclass. So I use my Blink, my Phoenix Dive, I have my Penumbral Blast, and then a Storm Grenade because I'm using my gauntlets. My Getaway Artist here, I want to create a little orb buddy to help me shoot things. So this is how it would work. create my orb, jump. Now I have a solar buddy. I got two things helping me. I got a turret here that will slow anybody running at me. This is just a different setup that I have for the Crucible here, but there's all kinds of ways you can make your Guardian stand out in the Crucible. This is just an example of it. All right, let's head back to orbit. The last thing I want to mention here, whenever you're putting your prismatic builds or whether you're using void, arc, whatever you decide you want to use, I like prismatic, but make sure that you're using aspects and fragments that are going to help you in the Crucible. Bleak Watcher, when I eat my grenade, I've lit that little turret that you saw in front of me. When I use my Phoenix Dive, this is Hellion. It throws me a little solar buddy that helps me out. And use fragments that are going to help you in the Crucible. Whenever I use light weapons like solar, arc, or void, I'm going to get a reduction in my melee damage. If I'm using a darkness weapon like stasis, it's going to help me with my grenade energy. So this helps me with cooldowns. The next thing I'm using here, I don't even really care about what this gives me, but it gives me 10 resilience. So that's a free 10 resilience mod right there. Second, I really don't use this either. All I'm worried about here is it gives me plus 10 discipline. You see, I'm using fragments that are helping me with my stats on my armor. Third one, I get 10 mobility. Now this one is important for Crucible because anytime I pick up a orb of power, depending on my super subclass, which I'm using the Nova Bomb, this will give me an overshield when I pick up an orb of power. This has saved my life several times in the Crucible. And then finally, picking up an orb of power grants me amplified, depending on what you're using. But I'm using my arc subclass, I'm using my arc grenades to do damage, and that gives me amplified. I pick up an orb of power, it gives me a super speed where I can jump and run around the map fast. But there's all kinds of different ways you can set your Guardian up here, but this is just one. This is the setup that I use right now currently in the Crucible. And then one thing before I send it back over to Gator is use a ghost that's going to actually give you some rewards at the end of your matches. I like to use this one. I'm getting Guiding Light, which gives me a boost, 10% boost to my XP. I've got a recovery armor because I want armor that gives me high recovery, at least a 10 recovery or higher. This helps with my tier 7 recovery on my Guardian. And then finally, I use Prism Harvest. You earn bonus enhancement prisms when completing ritual activities. You play a Crucible match, you have a chance of earning more of these enhancement prisms, which in my book are the most expensive things right now in the game. And you need them to upgrade your armor and all kinds of other different things. And I'll get into that another time, but I think I've covered everything here, Gator. Back over to you. Hey, thanks, Gator. That Warlock is looking good, my dude. So now that you know how different PvE builds are from the Crucible, and I've shared a few tips on setting up your Guardian to give yourself, that best chance at winning your 1v1 gunfights before you even set foot into your first match. Now it's time to jump into your first step. So click on the video right here to start your journey. And later, Guardian.